Hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, well, happy days for you. You've come on a very auspicious occasion. This is the first time I've reviewed any of the new German heavy tanks from the new German heavy line that popped up in patch 5.5. Now, this is... I've driven all three, but this is the best of the three in my opinion. And in fact, I think this is the best heavy tank at tier 8. And that's a massive call, considering just how many crazy heavy tanks there are at tier 8. But this tank is kind of the antidote for me to what has ailed tier 8 for a long time. That is these derpy Russian-style low-slung tanks like the IS-3, the IS-3 Defender, the IS-5, the Glacial, the IS-6. I mean, you get the idea. And this... the IS-2SH, I mean, this is the tank that just rolls them up in a ball and kicks them out of the field. It's crackerjack. It goes off like the frog in the sock. It is crazy how good this tank is. And I've heard a lot of people belittle this patch and this tank in particular, saying, oh, it's just a mouse clone. Well, yeah, it is a mouse clone, but it's exactly what was needed at this tier. It's a tier that has not had a genuine super duper heavy tank with a big derpy gun, and it now does. And it's going to really radically change the face of tier 8 gameplay, because the tank is an incredibly bouncy, incredibly nasty piece of work when up close and personal. The hit point pool is not massive for a tank of this size, 1,470 hit points, but what it lacks in terms of hit points compared to some of its compatriots, well, let's talk about the important stuff now. So let's talk about the armour. And this is a massive part of the tank. Indeed, it's the biggest and most important part of the tank by far and away. And I'm using the Armour Inspector app. You can get this on the App Store. Andrew Kapushin pumps this thing out. I've got so much value for money out of this, and I would highly recommend both you getting and downloading the app and paying a little bit extra to get all the bells and whistles. But I'm just going to show you very quickly here the important parts of the app. Now, this is the spaced armor on the side. This is of the tank, not the app. This spaced armor goes all the way around to the arse of the tank and gives you a 100mm skirt that basically befuddles heat. If someone shoots heat into your butt, right about there, you'll be fine. If someone shoots heat in your tracks, right about there, you'll be fine. If you get heat anywhere in the tracks of the side, you should be apples. The side armor plating itself, if we have a look over here, this part here is 130mm, and when you slope that up and angle that up even slightly, it becomes a crazy, lovely 450, 380, 314, and then if they shoot lower than that, they've got to go through tracks and everything else. So even the lowest, most inefficient part of the armor profile on the side is incredibly strong. The weak point is that part at the top, which is 208mm, hell of a weak point, and the lower glacis is 170 down there after it's been sloped, which is not bad, really. You have 8 degrees of gun depression, so you can actually get this thing up on a slope like that, and that makes the weak point a little bit harder to pen, but for the most part, this is the way you want to be angling the tank. Hiding that lower glacis, hiding that weak point up the top, and side scraping with that edge showing on the left. Like, the armor profile is just tremendous. I think tremendous is an understatement. The armor profile is phenomenal. And I had to stop playing the tank because I had to do the review eventually, and I had way too much footage. And I haven't really shown you the traditional review style of, hey, look, I did 4,000 damage and all this in this game. I had plenty of those games, but I just wanted to show you. I love just driving this thing around, and look at that T49. He'd rather fire anywhere else than into my ass. Like, there's so many times you'll see tanks just look at you with their gun, and then just go, you know what? I'm going to go find something easier to deal with. It's pretty crazy. I was in Minsk for the Twister Cup, and Skate and I had a lot of time to kill. And we played a platoon of these things forever. We ended up playing 106 games of VK100.01ps together. And, well, I mean, I played 106 games. I probably played about 60 games with Skate. And we would just drive these things down the middle of the map together sharing hit points, side-scraping off each other, and dropping 1,000 damage focus fire bombs. And we ended up winning 82% of our games. Well, I won 82%. I'm pretty sure Skate won about the same, over 106 games. It is that strong when driven in Platoon. You can see, I'm including this one specifically because there was a lovely couple of blokes on the red team here who we came up against time and time again in another VK100.01p platoon. And shout out to Slows and Ender over there. Good on you, boys. There's a couple of things to note, though. The weak point is very easily hidden. For me here, it's really easy because you can see I'm angling that upper glacis, and it's very, very easy to hide my weak point, really my only weak point, because it's on the left-hand side. And you can see the 100.01ps over there from those two guys is in strife because their weak point, the turret, the hatch, is visible. He says APCR, huh? And I'm like, okay. You call it APCR, and you ask for it. You're going to get a 500 round of AP straight through the top. And we had some great conversations. Oof, he says, is really funny. They were very nice, the two of them. And you can see Skate and I, this is another platoon we ran where he's running the Scorpion G and I'm running the VK, and he just farmed off my VK, and it was prodigiously successful. The other thing that was great was running on EU, I was running at like 40, 30 ping. And I hadn't driven tanks ever, really, for any length of time at that kind of ping. And I was like a kid in a candy shop. It was so much easier than driving on the Asia server where I'd run around with 120 on a good day and 150, 180 when it's a rough day on the dynamite fishing seas. The tank is just so tough to pen. If you drive it aggressively, you will win a lot of games just because it takes the enemy team so long to deal with you and get through you. And you can see I'm driving this with Skate here, and this is another example. I mean, it's just nuts. If you're facing tier 7 tanks, good night. Like, they've got absolutely no chance. It is a monster. And if you are good at tracking targets and wiggling your tank around, you'll be so successful with it. If you lose track like I did there, your drive wheels become really visible and available, and you can get penned. But you can see Skatey gets in real trouble here, and this is one of the things I love about this vehicle. Skate gets down to just over 100 hit points. He gets tunneled by 3 tanks at once. There's a 100.01p, an ISA, a T54. So he's in strife, and he's going to back up, and I'm just going to come in here and say, that's great. You're going to pen me. You're going to hit me. I don't mind that. As long as you're not penning my mate. And Skate clears an IS3 over there, and I'm just like, it takes them so long to aim, and apart from the ISA, I mean, you can see the T54 is firing Pramo, just trying to get things done. And everyone else has to chew through this hit point pool of mine. And it takes them so long to do it. The IS8 is firing Premium to get through there. It's clutch. Even against tier 9 tanks, you can still get these bounces. It's just absolutely ridiculously strong. I'm going to show you a few examples now of how I like to drive the tank. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other stats outside of the armor profile and the weak points. The gun itself is very derpy. You'll miss a lot of shots with the gun. Its dispersion is 0.385, which is exactly like driving an IS5 or something like that. So you know that you want to be driving it at the front because otherwise you're going to miss a lot of shots. Your aim time is big, 3.7 seconds of aim time. But that 460 alpha at a tier where you run into tier 7 tanks that have like 1,000 hit points, you can see that Yag Panther, he's got just over a K. That T71 has 1,000 hit points. 460 alpha is a super intimidating thing to have to deal with. And your HE shells are really tough. Like the HE damage on the tank is 600, and you get 65 HE pen. Now, there's a lot of tanks you can pen with 65 HE pen. I mean, you can see that T71 is firing high explosive at me. He's just like, whatever, man, whatever. I just cannot deal. I cannot deal with that. You max roll for 575. Like, that's intimidating. And I'm retreating here to get another side scrape set up in case we get pushed on the left, and that's why I bleed a few hit points, because I'm showing that lower glacis. You only do 20 kilometers an hour. So, I mean, if it had an incredibly accurate gun, it'd be super OP. If it had a gun with incredible pen, it would be super OP. Like, the pen is really good anyway. And if it was at all mobile, you'd be in huge strife. It's got to have some kind of weak points. And that mobility is the weak point. It's fine though. Just don't stop driving forward. Really, don't stop driving forward. And watch people just throw their arms up and start trying to shoot other tanks. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how aggressive Skate and I were when we played this. Now, you can't have that same kind of play style all the time. Obviously, we were ridiculously aggressive because, one, people had just seen the tank for the first time. They really didn't know what to do with it. They really didn't know how to deal with it. And so that's a big benefit, like where everyone doesn't have the knowledge base to deal with you. And you find after patches drop that if you get a hold of a new tank very quickly, you can get a big benefit from that. People don't have the experience of dealing with you, so you get a little bit of a plus. But still, like, if you're in a tier 8 game and you're not being aggressive and you're not the tank that other tanks are firing at, you're doing yourself and your team a massive disservice. It's exactly like the mouse at tier 10. You want people to shoot at you. If they're shooting at you, they're not shooting at the IS-3, or they're not shooting at the Yag Panther, or they're not shooting at the Borsig. You know, this is the place for the tank. It is driven aggressively at the front. And you see how many times people are firing premium at me. Like, you will get used to the sizzle, mate, the sizzle of heat, because there are no other options for these guys. There's so many. That's what I love about armor. It's not just a zero-sum equation. It's not just pen or don't get penned. It's also pen, but get pen for less because they're firing premium ammunition. And, I mean, that's a massive roll from that IS-3. Be stoked with that, but he's completely on my side. This 3485 Rudy, he may as well go whistle Dixie. He is in a terrible, terrible position being in front of this thing. And you can see that aggressive play style, it ties people up. It makes them just blow so much time and resources on clearing you as a target. You don't want to be coming out of this with no bounces. You want to just build steel walls. Steel walls are the way to go. Every time you get a steel wall, that's way more important than you getting 3k damage. But trust me, you'll get a lot of damage anyway. I think we averaged about, well, I know I averaged about 2300 in it on the European server over the course of 100 games. And that's fairly solid for a tank that's playing with someone like Skate, who's a really good driver and was pulling big damage numbers. And when I was playing with him in the Scorpion, it was a joke. Like, he was just shredding everything. There was no one left to shred. But, I mean, these are games where I'm playing on my own, and you can see I'm sticking it exactly where it's going to get shot at the most. And this is games where it's tier 7 and tier 8 tanks. Look at that stock KV3. He may as well go and wee into a hurricane. I mean, he's not having a good time of it. And I'm just worried. Only thing I'm worried about there is the IS-3. The IS, whatever, man. I'm going to face hug you. Face hugging tanks. Wow. Watch out for T-34s and things. They can face hug you, and you got to shoot them in the very top of the turret because you can't get the gun down with 8 degrees of gun depression at times. If they also wave their gun around in the air, that's the other thing. You've got to get used to doing the elephant thing where you wave your gun around above you so that they can't shoot you in the turret. I'm just going to leave you this one final little clip here. My entire team has gone up. I have gone down, and I've got to admit, I was hunting for footage here. I was looking to get situations where everyone was just shooting at me, and I was just going to get bounces and block damage. And that's exactly what we got. We got massive amounts of block damage here. I mean, it's me versus all their heavies right here. And look at that spaced armor and the rear turret. I mean, that's still 200 plus millimeters of pen required from that IS-3. And I'm backing up into that IS-3 on purpose so that he doesn't have clear shots. And then I'm like, well, whatever, you know, I'm just going to go past the KV-4, hug his side so he can't get the gun around. And this is the difference between this tank and the KV-4. This has better armor than a KV-4, and it's also got a 460 alpha gun, which is just insane. I mean, they're just... Look at this Tiger. I'm just wiggling and jiggling, not giving him that angle so that he gets an easy shot. And he's just like, you know what? Could you just stop? Could someone just stop? I've had enough. I'd like to have someone else to shoot out. The team has wiped the other 3 guys. All other 6 members of the team have basically been shooting the other 3 guys. And I'm just like, you know what? I'll just hold the heavy line until you all turn up. And then, you know, if we can just finish things up here, that'd be great. That's the VK100.01p. It's a really simple play style. You need to learn how to angle. You need to learn how to side scrape. But if you can do those 2 things, wow, are you going to have a fun time. And I think this is better than the Tier 9. I mean, I think the armor profile is harder to pen than the Tier 9. And the Tier 9 sees Tier 10. The higher you go with this kind of tank, the easier it is because the pen numbers go up on everyone else. This is the perfect tier for the mouse clone. Until next time, I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. Look after yourselves. And as always, stay safe on the battlefield. Bye for now.